Hey guys, welcome back to IGCSE Math Solutions. Today I'll be discussing about how can you maximize your preparation for boards, that too in minimum amount of time. Because as you know, you don't need to study hard, all you need to do is study smart. I have compiled and made a checklist today for you to keep track of your preparations. So let's get started. Number one is complete your syllabus as soon as possible. See, try to wrap up with your syllabus by ninth grade, but if you still need some more time, you can use the first one or first 2 months of your grade 10. See, because completing the syllabus early will help you to have greater amount of time to solve papers, because in IGCSE it is all about solving papers. From here, I move on to my second point, which is devoting maximum time to paper solving. To be in a good position before the exams, I would recommend solving the last 10 years of past papers. Suppose you are giving the exam in 2021, then begin the papers from 2010. And when I say 10 years, I mean solving all the three series, that is summer, winter, and the Feb-March series. Also, you need to solve each of the three variants, even if they look little bit similar. See, that extra effort will not go in vain. So do practice all the papers. If you want easy access to these papers, we have our own website. You will find the link to it down in the description box below. After solving those papers, you will also have to check them. So, point number 3, learn to use the mark scheme. You cannot always be dependent on someone to check these papers. So, evaluate these papers yourself. Moreover, once you're done with a paper, correct it immediately without further ado. For doing this, you should learn to read the MS and be aware of the abbreviations used in it. Evaluation should be extremely strict, mind you. Don't be lenient with yourself. Now, the next point is about how to attempt a paper. So, I begin with it. Point 4. Firstly, write the final answer in the given blank. Because you have marks for the answer written in that blank itself, even you have the accurate step-by-step solution, but still the examiner might not spare you because you haven't written the answer in the given blank where you should have written it. Next, include units even in calculation and not just the final answer. See, you can use the units and leave it just for the final answer, but the examiner, it depends on his mood. If he wants to give you marks, he might, but he might not in some cases. So why take the chance? Point C is read the question thoroughly. Earlier the papers had extra space to resolve a question if you had incorrectly solved a question before. But now the CAIE has been a little stingy about the space provided, and so it is limited to just one or sometimes no extra pages at all. Moreover, whatever you solve, it should be within the angular markings of each paper, because that is what they will be judging you upon. Anything beyond the bounds will be ignored and you won't be marked upon that. Next point is using scientific notations if the value is too large or too small. Using these notations will help you prevent you from making silly mistakes, because the number of zeros can sometimes be confusing and you might miss out on a few zeros or add some extra ones. So use scientific notation. And there is this question about how many decimal places should I leave an answer in. So my simple suggestion is, on the first page of your paper you have these set of instructions given. If you read those carefully, the board expects you to write only 2 decimal places for each final answer. But sometimes in some questions they might specify the number of decimal places they are expecting you for that specific question, or they might give you the number of significant figures in which they want the answer. So do remember to check that in the paper itself and read the instructions given at the first page of each paper. Another query which the students usually have is, what value of pi should I use? Should it be just 3.14 or 22/7 is good, or I have to use some other approximation? See, on the first page of the paper, if you check, normally they ask you to use 3.142 or the calculator value so that you have good accuracy while solving. But if you ask me, I'll say that you should just use the preset calculator value, because sometimes if you are solving for very huge numbers or extremely small numbers, those decimal places or the exponents will be so large that your answer finally will be affected greatly if you use some other approximation. So to be on the safer side, use the preset calculator value. Next we move on to point number 5, which is do solve the papers from 2012 to 2015. Now why do I say so? Because while I was solving those papers, I found that the questions were relatively tough, so make it a point to solve these papers. During these years, I felt that you need to think out of the box to find the most efficient way of solving. See, whenever you are solving a question, you can solve it using any method, but finding the most efficient way will help you save time, and so that you can spend that saved time on some other question, or you can recheck the paper to see if you have made some silly mistakes. Do remember that you need to find the most efficient way and think out of the box. Next, you should also make use of GT for each year, which brings me to my sixth point, that is, make the full use of GT, grade threshold, and examiner's report, also known as ER. These two documents, if you have noted carefully, they appear on each and every website which provides you past papers. So they would definitely hold some importance, which is why they appear on so many websites, you see. That is why you should refer to GT and solve those papers which have a lower threshold, because more difficult papers tend to have a lower GT. During the last 1 or 2 weeks before your exam, you can refer to these GTs and find some worthy papers to solve, so that you don't waste your time, your precious time actually, in solving easy papers. The examiner's report, on the other hand, will help you know where most of the students have gone wrong, so that you can work on those areas, because those areas will be the tricky areas where a lot of students were confused. Use these reports after solving each paper to assess how was your performance compared to most of the students who appeared in that session. If you would like to see how to use these two documents, I have created an in-depth video explaining these. So click the I button on the top right to watch my video on how to use GT and ER. Coming on to point number 7 is also refer to the syllabus copy once in a while. See, a syllabus copy is a document which contains all the topics which you are expected to know, and it has some definitions which the textbook generally don't have. Because the syllabus copy is updated every now and then, some textbooks which are of an older edition, they tend to miss out on these definitions, so use the syllabus copy to cover up for that. You will find these copies on the CAIE website, and keep downloading a fresh copy every month because they keep on adding stuff to it. Now trust me guys, because when I was giving my boards, I read the syllabus copy for biology just the night before my exam, and I had a direct question asked in the paper the next day. A question straight away lifted from the syllabus copy, and it wasn't even mentioned anywhere in the textbook. I was so very rejoiced, because these meager 1 or 2 marks is what separates these toppers from the crowd. With these, we actually come to an end to preparation for an A star. But for becoming a world topper, there is one last thing which some do not consider so very important. But I think it is a good way to practice. So take it as a bonus trick if you would like to call it that way. Now, this would be a question which most of IGCSE students have in their mind, but they don't usually get a satisfactory answer to it. So today I'll be trying to touch upon that as well. So with that, this is point number 8, which is, should I solve O level papers? Firstly, what is O level papers? They are similar to IGCSE itself, just a little tougher if you want to say it that way. So if you want to solve O level papers, there are a lot of factors which you have to consider. Firstly, how well is a student prepared? How many papers he or she has done till date, and how much time is left for their boards to begin. So I'll straight away tell you what my educators had advised me back then. Firstly, you should have solved a good 10 years of IGCSE papers. Next, you still have around 2 to 3 months left for your exam, then you can consider solving about 3 or 4 years of O level papers. Let me make it crystal clear right away. Solving O level papers is not a compulsion, but it is just another way to practice. The difficulty level of O level papers is just a little higher, and concept wise they are almost same for mathematics. However, they might differ a little for other subjects like the sciences, but for maths it is almost similar. And moreover, one of the two O level papers has to be solved without a calculator, so you can definitely give it a shot. However, just when your boards will commence, in those times please don't go out experimenting. In those ending times, what you need to do is try to relax your mind, stay focused on the IGCSE content. Don't try to do something extra in those ending times. With that, if you follow these 8-point checklist, then your A star will be secured. After that, a little extra effort is what will convert that A star into a world topper. So thank you guys for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, do make sure to subscribe. Also like the video if you think it was useful, or else click the dislike button. But do click one of them. Share it amongst your friends so that it can help even them. And follow me on Instagram, Twitter and Facebook. If you have any queries, leave them in the comments or send me an email. Link to all these will be present in the description box.